So taking the stand and putting yourself, the book's central contention is putting yourself on the stand, like your own witness, and trying to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And it is a very Jewish notion to put yourself on trial. You know, it's celebrated in the high holidays as putting yourself in the book of life, being inscribed in the book of life. But the interesting thing is Yom Kippur is a confession holiday, but it's a communal confession where everybody gets up, and not only do they confess together, they confess to everything.
I don't like the Jewish way of confessing, because to confess everything is to confess nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you hit your heart and you say things that you've never done, would never think of doing. I had a friend whose father, who was in his 80s, and he would hit his heart and say, if only I could commit the sin of adultery, if only I could commit the sin of lust, if only, you know, obviously these are not sins he was confessing, these are aspirations he had. So the sins become meaningless when they're all, you're confessing to everything, you're confessing in front of everybody. I remember that night of the O.J. Simpson verdict, everybody loved the fact that I was representing O.J. Simpson because they thought he'd be found guilty, but once he was found innocent, they hated me. And I went to the synagogue that night. The verdict came down on the day before Yom Kippur. And the only time people looked at me, people looked away, the only time they looked at me is when I hit my heart on, forgive me for the sin of counseling evil. Is he hitting hard? Is he doing it extra special? He certainly should.
Would you say it's more accurate of the two options to describe yourself as the Woody Allen of the bar in terms of humor, or Woody Allen as the Alan Dershowitz of Hollywood?
Oh, well, there's no question Woody Allen is the Alan Dershowitz of Hollywood. I'm much funnier than he is. I would be better at what he does than he would be at what I do.
Oh, yeah?
He would not be
that
a good
sounds
lawyer.
Like a challenge.
He would not be a good lawyer. But I think if I really put my mind to it and wanted to be a stand-up comic or wanted to write funny movies, I think I could maybe do a decent job. I don't think he could do a decent job as a lawyer.
Well, I hear you're retiring soon, so maybe...
It's a career. It's a possibility. Yeah.
Are the Red Sox the Israel of the National League?
Well, that's an interesting question. The Red Sox are the Brooklyn Dodgers, certainly. When I grew up with the Brooklyn Dodgers, they were always getting into the World Series and losing to the Yankees, usually in 7 games. When I first came to Boston, the Red Sox were getting into the World Series, 67, 75, 86, and losing, and now, of course, we've won 3 straight. The difference is Israel has never lost a war.
They can't.
And hopefully they never will, and they never could. So the Red Sox could lose and still be the Red Sox. Israel has to either prevent wars or win them.
There's also a nice sort of symmetry between the diaspora and the Red Sox nation.
That's true. I was originally in the diaspora. And
from Brooklyn?
Right. And when I moved to Boston, it was such a natural fit for me because Fenway Park looks just like its field, and the Brooklyn Dodgers were like the Red Sox, and we both hate the Yankees.
You fought with just about every single president.
And Dean.
And Dean. Right, wouldn't want to forget those. You just came back from a meeting, and there was surprisingly less shouting than I thought there might have been.
They were so nice to me, yeah. Now that I'm leaving this, so nice. Not only did I fight with presidents and deans, but I've sued Harvard on behalf of a student. I've represented students when they've been disciplined at Harvard, and I generally take the student side when it comes to students versus administration. I
noticed that you did not do that when our latest president revoked our hot breakfast?
Well, I was not aware of the hot breakfast revocation, and I don't specialize in food litigation. I've never done that, but you never know. I'm looking for a new career, so I might become an omelet lawyer. You know, I was called the lawyer of last resort, and an Israeli newspaper got it wrong in translation and said I was America's last resort lawyer. Resorts have to do with food, so maybe I'll become an omelet lawyer.
There you go. Can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs, and that sounds like that's your business.
That's my business.
How has Harvard changed you over the years, and in turn, do you think you've changed Harvard?
Well, I think I've changed Harvard more than Harvard's changed me. I think I've changed Harvard by making it a somewhat less stuffy place, and a place where groupthink is not as prevalent, although I still think there's too much groupthink at Harvard, all over the university. I think that there are dominant faculty views. I can't think of very many ways in which Harvard changed me.
You're wearing ties now.
Well, that's my decision. Also, I'm not sure this is an acceptable Harvard tie. It's an Art Deco tie. So
Yeah.
maybe even my choice of ties isn't particularly Harvard, although there's a little crimson in it.
Not quite enough crests and exclusive clubs
I
out
don't
there.
have too many of those.